In the ocean, there's a predator with a bite force 5 times stronger than a great white shark. It hunts everything: seals, sharks, even 40-ton whales. The ancient Romans called it Orcas, the demon of the underworld. But the bite force isn't what makes it the ocean apex predator, it's the brain. This animal has the most wrinkled brain on the planet, more folded than yours. It speaks in dialects passed down like human language. It teaches its young military precision hunting techniques that take years to master. And here's what scientists just discovered. This predator and its prey have been seen working together to hunt, enemies cooperating. What you're about to discover will completely change how you see the most feared creature in the ocean, because everything you thought made it deadly is wrong. The orca is the largest member of the dolphin family and the undisputed apex predator of every ocean on Earth. From the Arctic to the tropics, nothing is safe from them. Not seals, not sharks, not even the largest whales on the planet. Their physical power is unmatched. A bite force of 131 megapascals means they can crush bone with ease. For context, a great white shark, one of the ocean's most feared predators, has a bite force of only 27.5 megapascals. The orca is nearly 5 times more powerful, but raw power isn't what makes them so dominant. Plenty of animals are strong. What makes orcas terrifying is how they hunt. They don't just chase prey and overpower it. They strategize, they coordinate, they innovate. You've probably seen the videos. Orcas creating waves to wash seals off ice floes. Groups of orcas working together to take down a 40-ton sperm whale. Orcas intentionally beaching themselves on shorelines to snatch sea lion pups, then sliding back into the water on the next wave. These aren't instinctive behaviors. These are learned techniques passed down through generations like culture. And that's where the real story begins. Orcas have 3 completely distinct types of vocalizations, each serving a specific purpose. The first type is clicks. These rapid sequences, called click trains, are the backbone of their echolocation system. Here's how it works. The orca pushes air through its airway, causing 2 small flaps of tissue called phonic lips to slap together incredibly fast. The sound travels forward through a bulbous organ in their forehead, called the melon, which acts like a lens, focusing the clicks into a tight acoustic beam. Essentially, a sonic flashlight. The precision is staggering. Orcas can detect a school of fish up to 500 feet away in pitch black water. They use the echoes to build a full 3D picture of their surroundings. But here's where it gets truly remarkable. They can differentiate between species of fish based on the acoustic signature of their swim bladders. In the North Pacific, resident orcas hunt Chinook salmon almost exclusively, even when there are 5 other, more abundant salmon species swimming in the same area. They're using sound to look inside the fish and identify their preferred meal based on subtle density differences in a tiny air sac. That's not just echolocation, that's mastery. But clicks are loud. They travel for miles underwater. If you're hunting something with excellent hearing, like a sea lion, you can't broadcast your location. So orcas use their second vocalization, whistles. These are high-pitched, super-directional sounds that don't carry far underwater. Some reach frequencies up to 75 kilohertz. Their short range isn't a limitation. It's the entire point. Scientists believe whistles are used for close-range private communication within the pod. They're the need-to-know channel for coordinating final attack runs without alerting prey. Then there's the third type, pulsed calls. These are the opposite of whistles. They're as loud as jet engines, echo for miles, and are the sounds you hear most often from orcas. And here's what makes them extraordinary. Pulsed calls are not innate, they're learned. When an orca calf is born, its first sounds are just loud, high-pitched screams. They sound nothing like adult calls. The calf has to be taught how to speak by its pod. Because these calls are learned, not hardwired, each pod develops its own unique set of vocalizations, what scientists call a dialect. These dialects can remain stable within a pod for decades, serving as both a communication tool and an auditory family crest. It's how orcas identify who belongs to their group and who doesn't. Different pods sound completely different. One resident pod might use a call that starts with a low pulse burst followed by a narrow tone that shoots up in frequency. Another pod might use a completely different pattern, a low frequency tone that rises gradually, then a pulse, then a high frequency chirp. These aren't random sounds. They're cultural signatures passed down from mother to calf, creating distinct linguistic family trees. This brings us to the massive cultural divide between the 2 main types of orcas in the North Pacific: residents and transients. Residents stick to predictable coastal areas. They live in large, stable family groups and eat primarily fish. Because fish don't hear their calls very well, residents are loud and chatty. They use echolocation constantly. Transients are the opposite. They travel vast distances in tiny pods of about 3 members. Their diet consists of marine mammals, seals, sea lions, other whales, animals with excellent hearing. So transients have developed a culture of silence. When hunting, they're often completely quiet. No clicks, no calls, not until the prey is already caught. The difference in diet has driven entirely different social structures, languages, and hunting strategies. And scientists now believe this cultural divergence is so profound that residents and transients are undergoing sympatric speciation. They're becoming separate species while living in the same ocean. That intense social learning leads to some of the most remarkable hunting techniques ever documented. Off the coast of Argentina, a small group of orcas has mastered one of the highest risk, highest reward strategies in nature: intentional beaching. They ride an advancing wave, deliberately strand themselves on the beach just long enough to grab a sea lion pup, then rely on the next wave to pull them back into the ocean. If they miscalculate the tide or the wave strength, they get stuck, and a stranded orca is a dead orca. Out of roughly 30 orcas in that area, only about 13 have mastered this technique. It's not instinct, it takes years of training. Young orcas practice over and over with their elders, sometimes using pieces of seaweed as stand-ins for prey before attempting a real hunt. And it's the adult females who do the teaching, showing incredible patience. Even after a young orca makes its first successful catch, it needs help for years to ensure it gets back to the water safely. So what's driving all this? What's the biological engine behind this cultural complexity? The orca brain. It's the second largest brain in the animal kingdom, weighing between 5.5 and 7 kilograms. In terms of brain-to-body size ratio, the encephalization quotient, humans score around 7. Orcas score 2.5, which is extraordinarily high for a non-primate. But it's not just size. Its structure. The orca brain holds a world record. It is the most gyrified brain on the planet. Gyrification refers to the folding of the cerebral cortex, which increases surface area for nerve tissue and faster processing. The orca's gyrification index is 5.7, humans 2.2. What does that mean practically? It means the orca brain is built to process massive amounts of complex data simultaneously, running high-resolution 3D sonar, coordinating multi-whale hunting tactics, and maintaining lifelong emotional bonds in complex social groups all at once. The second crucial structure is the insular cortex. The insula. In all higher mammals, this area is involved in consciousness and the regulation of complex social emotions like compassion, empathy, and self-awareness. Orcas have an extremely developed insula, suggesting a capacity for emotional intelligence that could rival our own. But can we actually prove they're self-aware? In 2001, researchers conducted the classic mirror test. They placed distinct, non-toxic marks on orcas' bodies and put a large mirror in the water. The orcas didn't just glance at their reflections. They became fixated on the new markings, twisting their bodies to examine themselves from different angles. They bobbed their heads. They stuck out their tongues while watching the reflection. These behaviors are consistent with recognizing that the mark was on their own body, powerful evidence of self-awareness. So the orca's dominance isn't about strength. It's about a hyperfolded brain, a developed emotional intelligence center, and a culture of learned knowledge passed out through generations. Their lives, multi-generational matriarchal pods, decades-long dialects, complex apprenticeship systems, mirror aspects of our own social evolution. Which brings us to the most mind-blowing recent discovery. Orcas sometimes prey on humpback whales, but recently, researchers observed orcas cooperating with humpback whales to hunt large schools of herring, predator and prey, working together, a temporary truce driven by learned tradition. It suggests that the full extent of orca cultural adaptability, their capacity for complex, flexible relationships, is something we're only beginning to understand. The ocean's apex predator isn't the strongest, it's the smartest, and it's still evolving in ways we can't predict.